So a couple things I want to talk about. First being, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. Have you seen the post from Scanner Danner?
Negative.
Okay. Very, very popular guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And has a massive YouTube following.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry and I discussed this a little bit earlier. And he says, how do we fix this perception? I mean, I'm the guy you want to take your problem car to, right? As many of you are too. Yep. And so someone commented on a video thread and it says, I'm just a layman car owner. If you can't figure out what's wrong with my car in 1 hour worth of diagnostics, especially with today's advanced tools, you wouldn't be touching my car. Don't touch my car unless you're an experienced and seasoned tech. Otherwise, go F yourself.
That's awesome.
So what do you, Paul wants to know how to fix this dynamic. How do we fix this dynamic?
This video is brought to you by Shop-Ware. It's the shop management system that I use. It's the shop management system Lucas uses. We absolutely love it. And if you click on the link in the description, then you can get a demo for yourself. And we think that you will love it just as much as we do. And if you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you. You probably put ranch dressing on all your food, in which case there is no help for you. So a huge thank you to Shop-Ware. And now onto the video.
Well, I mean, it's an opinion rooted in ignorance that our industry has developed and furthered by undercutting each other and throwing each other under the bus repeatedly and racing to the bottom, right? All the hot button topics that everybody's talking about, right? It's the cumulative effect. We're reaping what we have sown for the last 50 years.
Absolutely.
And so, people don't understand the level of complexity that we're dealing with.
I agree with you to the sense that the general consensus is we're ripoffs. Okay. If you look on a Reddit thread, that was our last YouTube video. In that Reddit thread, every single person said a repair that every single one of us priced at $700 to $800, maybe $900. Everybody said, hey, it should be $200, right? And so if the general consensus is that, what does that mean for us? Is it that it's a bad sample? Is it that the people in that group are a bad sample? Is it that they're...
Well, what we have to remember is that people who are active on Reddit forums or on YouTube comment threads or whatever else are not the average motoring American, right?
Right.
So we get hyper-focused on some of those conversations when they're not representative of what our client base is, right? If we've worked hard to develop a business with a strong reputation and a strong team, you're going to attract strong clients.
I agree.
So, it's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
And we had a conversation about this earlier today about dealing with those ignorance-based commentaries online.
So tell a story.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big fan of coupon oil changes.
And flat rate. We got to put flat rate in there.
Well, flat rated coupon oil changes. It loses money on both ends of the deal.
Right.
It drives traffic, right? What it also does is it creates extra work for my office team because it's going to draw in some clients that have no interest in maintenance and repair.
Okay.
They just want a cheap oil change and they don't want to hear about anything that their car may need.
Okay.
Right? And so as a result of that, there's a segment of our community that's come in for their cheap oil change one time and gotten a full vehicle health inspection with a full estimate on everything that we see that their vehicle needs. And they feel like we're trying to rip them off, right?
Right.
And so they're no longer fans of my business. That's okay. We were probably not the right service provider for them anyway, but it also draws in the clients that we do want.
Right.
And we're able to develop relationships after they get a chance to experience doing business with us. And so, unintended consequence to that is, we had a situation where we frankly would drop the ball.
Okay.
We failed to communicate clearly with a client. They expected their vehicle to be completed in a time that was not consistent with what we thought the expectation was. It's 100% our fault. We're not perfect, right?
Right.
But she goes on to Nextdoor and leaves a post bashing us, and it turned into a disaster. And it went super quick. In 24 hours, we were over 100 comments, and it turned it turned into a battle between people who loved my company and people who had been in for that one cheap oil change and gotten a big review of their vehicle's condition. And like dirty, like people are just hateful on the internet.
And I when that happens to me, I take it personally. And you're cold and callous, right? So you don't even care. It doesn't even remotely bother you.
It's like a little piece of coal, just a little chunk of rock for a heart.
Right.
No. So, it was pretty stressful, right? And what you want to say versus what you need to say when you're responding to a situation like that.
Right.
You never win an argument with someone on the internet, right?
No, you can't
don't even try. Or at least I never win an argument with someone on the internet. Roman probably does.
I know, right? In his own mind. In his own mind, yes, maybe.
But, I had to go in and I had to give the mea culpa and, just apologize to every single negative comment on that thread. And then I private messaged every single negative commenter on that thread with my personal cell phone number, and I need them to call me and give me an opportunity to make it right. Even if they never come back, I want to have an opportunity to make it right. And all these people had spent $29 on an oil change, right?
Right.
So what am I going to do?
I'll give you $30 back.
I'll give you $30, go away. But out of all of those messages that I sent, I got one phone call.
Really?
Because they're cowards, whatever.
What did the one phone call? What did it go like?
She just called up and said that she felt like, I think we'd given her an estimate on brakes or something, and she went to Bubba down the road in the backyard who did it for a lot less, and we were trying to rip her off because she was a woman. She doesn't understand the differences that we all know the differences that are there. So
of course.
She had a very nice conversation. She was willing to call, right? So she's already established that she's above a certain level. But we had a very nice conversation. I apologized profusely. I explained the differences between what she experienced and what we were offering. And then I asked her for permission to send her a refund check. I sent her a refund check, and in the conversation, I also learned that her kids like Cracker Barrel because I had been at Cracker Barrel with my kids when she called.
Right.
And so I sent her a Cracker Barrel gift card also. So,
right.
And the funny thing is, this thread finally dies down after like 3 days. We're almost at 200 comments at this point of, people being accused of sleeping with me is the only reason they're saying, yeah. And look, if we're on video, ain't nobody wanting to sleep with this cat, right? So, it was ugly, but the original poster comes back on and comments again to thank me for the way I handled the situation and how I went above and beyond to make it all better. And then that just threw another match on the fire and lit him back up, and all the comments started again. It's like, oh, Jesus.
Really?
Yeah.
So it all came back.
But it died out in a week. It was just a week of stress,
That's crazy, dude.
And when it's happening, you feel like it's the end of the world, right?
Yeah, dude, it really sucks. Did you notice an effect on the business? Was there
zero?
Right?
Zero. Other than the clients who were defending us in this little war of words, when they would come in, they would talk about it and laugh. And, the advisors would laugh with them and thank them.
Right.
And they'd talk about, what a bunch of dummies those people were and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, whatever.
Well, and I think the automatic response by most owners is they go back to one of two things. They either get extremely defensive. They get upset. They get mad. I would never rip somebody off. I wouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. Or they go to, did I rip them off? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It creates this element of doubt. Was there ever an element of doubt in your mind? Was there ever a...
Well, so, like most negative reviews online, there's some kernels of truth and there's some outright false accusations, right? And that was the case in this, too. I didn't even address any of that online because, again, don't argue with people online, right?
Right.
But, yeah, we dropped the ball. We didn't communicate clearly. Like, I told you more of the details, but she had an 8 o'clock appointment to drop it off, and we did not follow our procedure and communicate clearly when they should expect to hear from us.
Right.
And that it would be done by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they called at 11 o'clock and wanted to know if the car was ready for pickup, and we hadn't even started yet.
Right.
And so she was angry. And then we finally get started on it, and she shows up at the shop while it's on the lift, and we've done our full DVI and built the estimate. So we have this estimate for the findings, but we still haven't changed the oil.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, it's just like a perfect storm of mess that 100% could have been avoided if we had just followed policy and communicated clearly. So,
well, and you bring that up, and it's important to point out, like, every time that's happened in my shop, that's exactly why it's happened, right? That's exactly what's caused my issue, is that we did not follow that process. We did not communicate proper expectations with the client. And it's so tough because if I'm doing it, I know that I'm communicating that. How do you do that? You've got how many stores now?
3.
So you've got 3 stores. How do you get everybody on the same page and get them doing that? That's one of my fears of going to more than one store.
So I think it comes down to, well, I mean, obviously we failed in that situation, right? And there's going to be failures, but it comes down to consistent and regular training and reinforcing of those core tenets of how we do what we do, right?
Right.
So the name of my business is CarFix. So we have, the book on how to do CarFix, right?
Right.
And just because we talked about this is how we communicate with drop-off clients 6 months ago doesn't mean that they're not going to fall off of that process. Yeah. And so consistent review and consistent auditing of phone calls,
right,
and grading of those phone calls, and debriefing. And when things go wrong, you always got to debrief, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So if you make a mistake and you go make your mea culpa and you make it right with the client, but you never have a learning, teachable moment with the staff, you're just setting yourself up for that mistake to be had again.
Right. It becomes a pattern. It becomes almost habit. It's not intentional.
Well, yeah, and I guess another way to say that is just accountability. We got to hold our team accountable for the policies that we've put in place, and those policies are built together with the team.
Right.
It wasn't like I walked in and said, we're doing it this way.
Yeah.
You have the conversation. We need to have a policy for how to deal with this situation.
Right.
What do y'all think is best?
And we can't just tolerate it, right? No. We have to address it when it happens, because if we don't, there was a reason the policy was put in place, right? And we've talked about this on the show before. David brings it up all the time. If there is something that's causing you pain, go write a policy about it. Right? If something doesn't feel nice, write a policy. If it costs you money, write a policy. David just overrides all of his policies. So that's why,
Well, that's why none of us owners, our advisors never want us on the counter, right? Because we're terrible for business from their perspective.
Yeah.
David said something on an episode, I don't know, a few weeks ago, because you can tolerate it and just let it be okay. And your business will still be okay if you're okay with that. I mean, all the national chains tolerate mediocrity. They just throw cars at the wall and enough sticks. Right. So you've got to decide what kind of business you want to have. Right.
That's true.
Do you want, well, I mean, that's the relationship-based business versus transactional-based business, right?
It is, and I, when we talk about that, and we've had some conversations around that. I thought it was interesting the other day. Someone had mentioned in a public post that they were a relationship-based business. And then I got 6 or 7 messages within minutes saying, no, they're not. They say they are, but they're not. What? And it wasn't you.
If it was, please tell me.
No, it wasn't you.
I build really good relationships with all those oil change coupons.
I know, right? Yeah. Like, especially all the ones that left all those lovely messages about you on Nextdoor. But how do we... Is it possible that value slides a little bit? That relationship, is it possible that because here's where
is the answer to your question. Because you've talked about your fear of going to MSO, right?
Right. Yeah.
You care more than anyone in your company, and you will put forth a level of effort and attention to detail that exceeds what is reasonable to expect from anybody on the team other than you. So if you're going to step back from the business and you're not going to have your finger in the everyday operation of the business, be that in a single location or in a dozen, you're going to have to be okay with 90% of what you gave when it was all you.
Right.
I think that's the case, right? So, and that is back to what I was referencing that David talked about. If the industry on the whole, the average is crap, then if we are double that good, we're way above average. But we could be, I mean, even way
A
better
little-
than that too. So you got to
Right.
figure out what your comfort level is with, do you want a single operation that is just killing it, giving incredible service and incredible for your team and incredible for your family and all that? Or do you want 5 or 6 or 7 or or 100 that are throttled back a little bit on that level of quality?
Right.
It's a tough decision, and it's tough to figure out what the right medium is for that.
Well, so, and at the end of the day, it's about outrunning overhead, right? And Dutch is going to freak out when he hears me say that. But I mean, like, let's be real about it. Like, when you increase the size of your organization, you have a better ability to catch up with the overhead associated with running and
100.
offering the assets or the amenities your business offers, right? And so, one of the things that comes to mind is there was recently a conversation about a vehicle and it had an issue after a repair. And that vehicle went from shop to shop to shop. It was through 4 shops, and each shop looked at it and said, we don't even need to charge you. There's something definitely wrong. Go back to this person. Okay. And then eventually someone reached out and said, hey, listen, what should I do? Because they also said, there's a problem with this vehicle. You need to take it back to them. And they took it to that shop who they thought was friendly with them. And that shop's like, we fix every car that comes from their shop. They break as many cars as they fix.
Original repairing shop makes a mistake
Yep.
in a repair. And
Yep.
it bounces from shop to shop to shop,
And each time went back to the shop, and each time they said,
No, it's not us.
It's not us. There's nothing wrong. That's normal.
And then it goes to shop number 4, whose owner knows the owner of shop number 1.
Yep.
And shop number 4 says, look, here's all the details. Here's what you show them pictures, whatever else. Take it back. They'll make it right. They're good guys. Customer goes back to shop number 1. Shop number 1 says, number 4 doesn't know what they're talking about. We fix everything they break already.
Yeah. How would that make you feel?
Well, I mean, it's time to have some hard conversations, right? That is yet another one of those underlying problems that's helping to keep our industry with the low opinion that it is.
Yes.
It's throwing each other under the bus, right? So there's a conversation between 2 business owners, right?
Right.
And then the owner of store number 1 needs to be having some hard conversations with the staff, because it wasn't the owner of store number 1
Exactly.
that said that. It was service advisor
Of store number 1.
and it's not a closely held operation. The owner is not present.
Right.
So, that's
That's the thing. And I think that's my fear of MSO.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100.
That's my fear. Because I was talking to this person. I said, look, the owner doesn't know this. And it was like, I promised the owner would not be okay with this. I know the owner. The owner, there's no way. And he doesn't know. And until you communicate with him, he's never going to know. And in the same respect, I would want to know if another shop says, hey, every car that leaves there comes here to get fixed. I would want to know that. It would not feel nice to hear it, but I would want to know that.
And look, there's a shop in your neighborhood that every time one of their cars comes into your bay, you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
How's this thing on the road, right?
Exactly.
Those shops exist, right?
Yeah.
So, one, you need to look inside and make sure that the owner of shop number 4 needs to look inside and make sure that that's not a thing. It's not really a QC problem that they got to deal with. But, that's a training thing inside the operation. Everyone in our organization knows that we do not throw each other or other shops under the bus. I mean, and they also know that I'm heavily involved in industry associations and networking in the industry. And it's like, these people are my friends. You're not going to badmouth their business and be a part of my business. So
absolutely.
But I mean, that's common decency.
Yeah, and for every business, right? Auto repair or otherwise, you shouldn't be talking bad about another business. It's professional courtesy, right? Go to a doctor and try and throw another doctor under the bus and see what they do. They're not even going to talk to you about it. Yeah. They're not going to comment. They're not going to say anything at all. They're just going to skip right across the top of it like it never happened. I think that we can easily become disconnected from the operation. I think we can get away from what the operation is supposed to be doing. How do you manage that when you have because that's a big organization, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot to keep up with. That's a lot of moving pieces.
Well, look, the owner of shop number 1 does not have the time or the bandwidth to deal with a car that wasn't repaired right in one of his stores, because he's got a bunch, right?
Yeah.
But there's someone in that organization who is tasked with that.
Right.
And that person needs to step up, right, and handle the situation and give the coaching that's necessary. But number 4 needs to get in touch with number 1, because he'll never know otherwise.
Exactly.
Right? And that, so look, there are mistakes and problems that exist in my business that I don't find out about.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens.
Mine too. And I'm a one-store operation, and I'm in my store a lot.
Yeah, you're on the road a lot too, though.
Right.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap.